My hat! Alright, and we are back with the LaTrax. So this is the LaTrax PreRunner. These things are awesome. I really do like them. They generally run about $120. If you don't have one and you're looking for something around that price range that is loads of fun, I would highly recommend one of these. So, my friend asked me to replace his pinion and spur. So these are the stock pinion and spur. The pinion, I believe, was a 9-tooth. Yes, 9-tooth. And the spur doesn't say. But anyway, he decided to go with a spur that is smaller and a pinion that is larger. Now, when I installed it, I let my friend know that I didn't really like the way it meshed. And the motor mount is a square motor mount. And the problem with it is it has a little plate in there. And you can flip it and it'll move the motor away from the spur, but then it creates too big of a gap so the two gears don't mesh. But if you leave it, the mesh is too tight. And then you can flip the motor mount and play again with that little plate, and still, same thing. So the gear that he got, let's see, was a 54 tooth, so this is larger. 50 tooth is in here right now. And the pinion was a 14. It didn't really work, it didn't mesh. So I think if you wanted to go with a 54, he needs a different pinion. Alright, here are the other drivers. Let's see, was it this one? So he needs a smaller pinion, probably, if he wanted something for more speed. But if he's going to do that 54 spur, instead of a 14 pinion, maybe a 13 or 12, since you can't really do any adjustments with the motor mount. So right now I'm taking this apart because it stopped running. So this still turns. So I'm going to check the gears. I'm pretty sure he stripped the gears. If he did not strip the gears, then he probably fried the motor, at which point I'll test the motor. Because the motor is a direct current motor, DC, it's very easy to test. You just take a battery, plug these two terminals in, and you're set. So right now, if I remove this, his gears are fine. Oh no. Alright, so his gears are actually fine, so it's not, now they're meshing perfectly. So what on earth was the problem? Did he fry the motor? This makes no sense. Alright, so the gears are fine. There's no plastic in there. The thing just stopped running. So let's see what's wrong. It's not the gears. Let's install everything back on. See, it's kind of interesting. He was running, something was kind of stuck. So we are going to investigate. So before I screw the screws on, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the motor from the ESC. And just holding the ends. All right, so it wasn't the gears. All right, there's one. There's the other. And at this point, I'm going to take the motor mount out. I'm actually going to remove the motor. So this just comes off. That little crescent, that's the plate I was referring to. So this is the square plate I was referring to, and that's the little plate inside the motor mount, so that little crescent. So you can flip this and move the motor outwards, then it won't mesh. And then you can flip this if you want but it's really the same thing, and then you'd have to flip the plate. Long story short, the way it comes stock, that's the way this thing's going to mount. So now I just need a battery, and then I'm going to plug these in, and if something happens, the motor's probably good. If nothing happens, then he probably fried the motor. Alright, so I have a battery right here. Let's see what will happen. Dun dun dun. It's always better to use alligator clips, but not a big deal. This is a small motor. Yeah, nothing's happening. He fried the motor. There is some electrical smell in there, and this battery's definitely good. I'll try it over here just in case I was making good contact over there. Alright, and we're just going to hold it by the mount. Nothing. Alright, so he fried his motor. Now the question is how? That shouldn't have happened. And when I told him something wasn't meshing right, and everything is perfectly meshed, oh, that might be it, actually. Just discovered something. Alright, well, let me put it together, and I'll tell you what I think the problem is. Well, yeah, I'll put it together. So this will go here. See, if I put it together, then I don't lose any screws. Alright, so this is pretty simple. Alright, so he's going to be happy that he did not destroy the gears. He's not going to be so happy when he finds out he burnt out the motor. Alright. Now, if this were an alternating motor, alternating current motor, so an AC motor, similar brushless, a brushless motor. Brushless motors are alternating current. This test would not have worked. So I would have had to have plugged in the battery to the ESC and then tried it. But here we go. So we will do this. And keep in mind that this system can use LiPo batteries, so it can run off 7.4. So just because this battery looks large doesn't mean it cannot run with this vehicle. It's a 7.4 volt. So it's the volts that you generally look for. Now, this would be difficult to mount. So yes, in that case you would be right. You'd probably have to tie strap it or do something else if you want to run this specific battery. But for all intents and purposes, all we're doing is just testing the motor. So something that I will do is like I've mentioned in another video, I have 2 of these LaTrax vehicles. So I'm actually going to grab that truck. Let me put his gears away, so these are fine. So I guess you can. See, now it feels fine. So this is what I'm thinking happened. When I was trying it out and I didn't like it, the battery was in here. So if you recall, so you went with PureTech, and this is great for holding batteries. Now that the battery, the LiPo battery that was in here, is wider than the stock battery. I only have the stock batteries, but he uses those shorty LiPos because he uses them on his crawler as well. But one of the things that I'm noticing here, and I'm not sure if you can tell, oh, there it is. Okay, so right there you can see those little marks there right where my finger's pointing. Let me use a screwdriver. So from here to here, all that section is kind of scratched and polished off, and you can kind of see it back here as well. See those lines? So from here, there we go, all the way over here. So all those scratches And let me run the screwdriver, you'll be able to hear him. So it's right there. This is the way it should sound. But as you get over here, it changes. So you have about 1.5 centimeters that's polished off or scratched off here. And then you have about 2 centimeters over here, maybe more, that's scratched off. So what I'm thinking possibly happened is the battery was probably hitting, so the corners of the battery, the edges were probably hitting that section. And if you had seen the battery, I don't have it with me, he kept it. It's a soft pack, so so it's a soft pack, but where the shrink wrap shrinks, it kind of extends here on the edges. So I'm thinking that's probably what was happening. If you fried the motor, it was probably because it was creating too much friction there at those points. So slowing the vehicle down, it's probably creating too much resistance for the motor. So let me grab mine, and then we'll try to test it just to make sure it's the same test and it's a valid test for this motor. Here it is. Right here. So it's LaTrax. Mine just has a different paint job, and you can't really tell because of the light. It actually looks really light here if I create some shadow. Yeah, it looks a little better. But very good looking truck. I'm gonna put my body clips over here. One of the differences is I have these silver chrome body clips. His came with black body clips, which are kind of cool. I didn't realize that. So this is mine. This is the battery they generally come with. Let me just remove it. This one right here. So he was running a square battery, and it was a little wider. And if you look at my truck, my shaft is clean. There's nothing there, nothing that's been hitting either that part or that part. Versus his truck, let me see if I can create some shadow. Oh, there we go. Does that look better? Yeah. Can't really tell on the camera. I mean, if you were seeing this in person, you could really tell that that shaft is kind of scuffed up, and it's right in here. You can't really see. Well, sometimes you can see some lines. So I apologize for that. I'm not sure if I had more light, if that would help. Let me try it. Oh, there it is. See, there you can tell right on the back, right back there. Now you can kind of see it. And then up front, so you can see it there. You can start seeing all those scuff marks right about here, and then all the way back here. So I just need a little more light, but there you can see the difference. So there, it looks like something was rubbing, versus if you look at my truck, see, everything's shiny clean. Well, it's not clean, but shiny. That's just dust on there. So I'm gonna have to let him know that's probably what happened, so he burnt his motor. Now, I'm gonna do the same test on mine, just so you can see. Now, mine is still hooked up, so I'm gonna have to put something under it so it doesn't take off as soon as I connect the motor to the battery. So I'm just gonna grab my field tubing. There it is. Again, alligator clips are the way to go. For here, just gonna do this. Plug that in, and then just going to tap this in, and the wheels should blast. There we go. See? Now, really quick, Spark is actually really, really bad for your terminals. That's what deteriorates your terminals. So again, you probably want to wire here and then connect these. But long story short, this is the test. So verdict: motor's fried. All right, we'll see on the next one. Hopefully there's a next video. Well, there will be a next video. But the question is, are we going to swap the motor for the same thing, or are you going to go with something else? So other than that, that explains why right now it's fine. And before, I thought it wasn't meshing properly. It was probably just the battery hitting the shaft and creating resistance. So anyway, other than that, that's it. So what happened, based on the investigation here, the LiPo battery appears to have been contacting and creating friction between itself and the shaft, created more resistance, and fried the motor. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you in the next one.